Just yesterday, I had somebody on social media attack me and call me an elitist because I was supporting single-sex educational environments and talking about the benefits of private schools like Newington College. So what I would like to do is to respond with facts, because he said that I didn't really understand anything about public education and that my views were skewed. So what I plan to do is I plan to use facts to respond and to build my case and to protect my position. It has been a very interesting week with two major headlines hitting the news simultaneously, and the dynamics show a troubling trend for those who depend on public education for their children, with public education participation rates dropping to a record low of 64%, which is the lowest rate ever. And during the same week, we also had headlines that were saying that private schools enrolments are now at a record high, with long waiting lists for parents who are fleeing in droves the public state-funded education system. It's that bad that one government analyst named Nick Parkinson of the Grattan Institute said that of the 140,000 additional students who entered schools in the past 5 years, 120,000 of them were privately educated. So what we need to say here, and say it very, very clearly, is that government has failed families, and those families who depend on state-funded schooling. So we need to ask ourselves what is going on and to try and figure out what is happening. The first thing that I want to bring to your attention is that a major international report says that Australian schools are among the worst in the OECD, with disruption causing a behavioural crisis in Australian schools. This issue is causing high teacher attrition rates and student disengagement because of the noise, the disorder, the intimidation. The survey revealed a shocking statistic that a third of the students say that they do not listen to the teacher most of the lessons. If you look at another report from the OECD, known as the TALIS report, it shows that 37%, more than a third, of Australian principals reported intimidation and bullying amongst students, more than twice the OECD average. Australian teachers and school staff were also facing intimidation rates and verbal abuse by their students, which is 4 times higher than the rates of the OECD average. We have a teacher shortage in terms of numbers in the public education system, and also a massive shortage in experience. And things will most certainly get worse, with the gap being estimated at over 4,000 teachers by the year 2025. So things look really bad. Teachers are having furniture thrown at them, windows punched out next to their heads. Their cars are being keyed, their wallets are being stolen. There are other issues such as vaping, drug taking, alcohol use on the school grounds, as well as drug selling in some schools. There are numerous current reports and studies that show that both teachers and students now feel unsafe in the school environment. There has also been a Senate inquiry here in Australia which shows how serious and how widespread this issue really is, where teachers feel helpless to control even low-level disruptions in the class, let alone serious and violent disruptions within the public school system. There is no wonder why there is a record number of families who are enrolling their sons and daughters in private schools, and more specifically, schools that are specialists in single-sex education. There are also teachers, the good teachers, those who are leaders in their field, or those who show great promise, who are being headhunted and jumping across to private schools, where they can enjoy higher pay and, of course, greater responsibility and greater potential satisfaction in getting a good job done. There are also lots and lots of co-ed schools in Australia, and just a small minority of single-sex boys' schools and single-sex girls' schools. Reports show that co-ed school environments are the petri dishes that are the breeding grounds of greater gender stereotyping, which reflects the greater issues that we have in Australian society, a society which is broken in many ways. What we are asking for is for Newington to reverse the co-ed decision in order to preserve the right of families to choose a single-sex educational environment for their sons. Whilst the woke media is totally against single-sex boys' schools, we need a society that is balanced with strong, confident and capable girls, as well as strong, capable and confident males. And many studies show that single-sex education helps to deliver this desired outcome by allowing students to grow and develop throughout their formative years without the negative pressures or gender stereotyping, sexual harassment and extreme bullying that manifests itself in classrooms that are the most disruptive and unproductive in the OECD. This news creates a great divide because not everyone can afford a private school education, and with public school participation rates dropping to 64%, which is the lowest ever, as we mentioned before, and private school enrolments hitting record highs with long waiting lists, it bodes for continued pressure on the education system. And as we see and as we know, the private school education system is the one that is propping up the public school education system and not the other way around. Because when you look at the HSC school rankings on a yearly basis, and you can go back for numbers of years, you will find that the vast majority of the top 50, 70% or more, are private schools. But more importantly, the top 50 are populated by single-sex schools. So we need to protect single-sex schools. We need to protect families so that they can have the choice of sending their boy or their girl to a single-sex school of their choosing, and to not allow the woke movement taking away this choice.